Imagine for a moment that the words you choose are like keys, capable of unlocking the most intimate doors to the heart of a mature woman. We're not talking about quick tricks or empty promises. We're talking about something much deeper, something that can transform the way you connect with her today. I'm going to share with you those words that, when used wisely, can spark desire, build connection, and take intimacy to another level. And the most surprising part is that you don't need to change who you are. Just learn to use your language more consciously throughout this video. I'll be sharing lessons that I've learned over the years, as well as insights from wise women who have left a lasting impact on my life. These will be practical tips, eye-opening stories, and strategies that will help improve your personal life in ways you might not have expected. So if you've ever wondered how to truly reach the heart and mind of a mature woman, stay tuned, because this video is for you. My name is Celia, and if it's your first time on my channel, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. I promise that what's coming will not only surprise you, but also give you the tools to transform your intimate and emotional life. Let's get started. 1. The power of saying no. The power of saying no is far greater than many men imagine. It might seem strange at first, but when a man knows how to set boundaries, it shows a confidence that attracts and fascinates mature women. It's not about rejecting for the sake of it, but about being aware of your own values and needs. Something men often overlook in their relationships. Let me tell you about Andres, a man who spent years trying to please every woman he dated, thinking that by always saying yes, he'd make them happy and they'd want him more. But curiously, what Andres experienced time and again was the opposite. After a while, these women would seem to lose interest. It was a friend of mine, Clara, a woman in her 50s, who gave him the advice that changed his life. One day, she told him, "Andres, women don't want a man who agrees with everything we say. We want someone with his own opinions, who isn't afraid to say no when it's necessary." Andres decided to try that advice in his next relationship. He was dating a wonderful woman, intelligent and strong who at first seemed delighted by his constant attention. But then came a moment when she made a request. She asked him to stop seeing his friends on the weekends to spend more time together. Andres, who usually gave in without a second thought, this time remembered Clara's words with a gentle but firm smile. He replied, "No, my friends are an important part of my life, and I don't want to lose that." Surprisingly, instead of getting upset, his partner looked at him with new eyes, with respect. It was as if by setting that boundary, her attraction to him had grown. Why does this happen? Psychology teaches us that when a man sets his limits, he sends a clear message. He values himself. Mature women who've lived long enough to recognize patterns quickly detect when a man is afraid of losing them and acts out of that insecurity. Saying no in a respectful and confident way not only makes you more attractive, but also creates a dynamic where both partners can be honest and authentic. It reminds me of something my grandmother used to say: "There's nothing more attractive than a man who knows what he wants and what he doesn't want." And I couldn't agree more. Saying no not only establishes your boundaries, but also opens the door to a more balanced and respectful relationship. It's not about rejecting for rejection's sake, but about valuing your time, your interests, and your principles. Mature women appreciate a man who isn't afraid to be true to himself. If you ever find yourself in a situation where you feel that giving in isn't right, try saying no calmly and confidently. You'll be surprised by the reaction, because true respect and attraction are built on that authenticity. Next time you're in a conversation with a woman you like, and she asks you for something that doesn't sit well with you, take a moment to evaluate whether you really want to agree, and if the answer is no, say it without fear, with the confidence that you're building a relationship based on honesty, not the desire to please at all costs. This simple change in attitude can open doors that once seemed closed. In the end, What a mature woman values most is authenticity, and that well-placed no is one of the best ways to show that you're a confident man, one who knows who he is and what he wants. 2. Challenge, the key to keeping her interest alive. Number 2, challenge is one of the most underrated ingredients in seduction, yet its effect is profoundly powerful. It's not about playing games or being unavailable, but about maintaining that spark of interest, that feeling that there's still more to discover. Mature women with their experience value a man who isn't predictable, someone who offers a small chance, all a mental and emotional stimulus that keeps them intrigued. Let me tell you about Javier, a family friend who was always a charming man, but had a problem. He was too predictable. Every time he met a woman he liked, he was the first to do everything for her, constant messages, always available, and any little thing she wanted, he'd fulfill immediately. However, all those relationships fizzled out quickly. The women seemed to lose interest before things could progress. One day, Javier asked me for advice. I told him, "You don't have to always be at the forefront of everything. Women aren't just attracted to what you give them, but also to what you don't show them. Right away, let them discover who you are." Little by little, I explained that the challenge wasn't about being difficult or unreachable, but about being interesting, maintaining mystery in a natural way, and allowing them to also want to earn your attention. Javier decided to try something different. Instead of replying to every message right away, instead of saying yes to every plan, he began to pace his time. He showed genuine interest, but he left room for them to also reach out to him, and to his surprise, that little dose of challenge completely changed the dynamic with women. One of them, Maha, who initially seemed to simply enjoy his company, started to become more interested when she realized he wasn't always available. "Javier, you're a challenge," she said, laughing during a date, "and I like that." It was at that moment he understood the power of leaving space for the other person to also invest in the relationship. The concept of challenge is deeply rooted in psychology. There's something called intermittent reinforcement, which comes from behavioral psychology. Basically, it means that when a reward, in this case, your attention, isn't given consistently, but intermittently, it becomes much more attractive and desired. It's not about playing hard to get, but by not always being available, you create a sense of value in your time and presence, something she naturally perceives and appreciates more. Now, this isn't about manipulation. The challenge isn't to make her feel like she has to compete for your attention, but to show that you're a man with his own life interests and a clear sense of who you are. That balance between showing interest and maintaining a bit of distance is what creates that pleasant tension, that little game of seduction where both of you enjoy the process. I remember a close friend of mine, Anna, telling me, "What hooked me about my partner was that he never made it easy. I never felt like he had me in the palm of his hand. He made me feel like I had to win him over too." That idea that you're both trying to win each other over is key. Mature women who have had life and relationship experiences aren't looking for a man who simply worships them without question. They're looking for someone with whom they can grow, discover, and move forward, and that progress has to include an element of challenge, something that keeps them actively engaged in the relationship. So if you feel like things often cool off quickly in your relationships, ask yourself if you're leaving space for the other person to discover you. If you're keeping that balance between showing interest and being a bit of a challenge, it's possible that simply not being so accessible all the time could completely change the way she sees you. In the end, challenge is nothing more than an invitation to get to know each other on a deeper level. Step by step, it's that mystery that, when handled with subtlety, becomes one of the most attractive elements of a relationship. As my grandmother used to say, if you give everything from the start, what's left to discover? Let her uncover who you are at her own pace, and you'll enjoy a much richer and more exciting relationship. 3. Patience. The slow and subtle seduction. Patience in a man is like an invisible thread that holds the tension, but with calm. And I tell you this from my own experience. common for a man to turn down such a clear invitation, especially when both of us knew what would happen next, but he wasn't desperate, he wasn't in a hurry, he could have had me right then and there, we both knew it, but he chose not to. That decision, that control he showed, impacted me more than I can describe when I went up to my apartment, closed the door, and leaned against it. I couldn't stop thinking about him, the way he handled the situation, showing that he could, but didn't need to. At that moment, left me burning inside. He had won me over without ever touching me. And yes, I confess that night, I ended up in bed alone, but not without company. My vibrator was my only witness, as my mind kept going back to him, over and over again. That's what patience in a man does. That ability to not rush to, not give in to the urgency of the moment, but instead to wait, to enjoy the game without feeling the need to end it immediately. Patience, when it's genuine, creates something that no rush can ever achieve. A desire that stays alive, that intensifies, that makes you want more. It's not just about saying no at the right moment. It's the confidence it conveys, the feeling that there's so much more to discover, but that it won't all happen at once that night. He left me wanting more, much more, and that, my dear, is the power a patient man holds for mystery, the invisible magnet in seduction. Mystery is one of the most fascinating qualities in a man. I'm not talking about hiding things or being closed off, but about that ability to not reveal everything at once, always leaving something to discover. Something that keeps you intrigued with the feeling that there's more, but it's not easily unveiled. I remember a particular relationship where this element of mystery was so strong that even after months, I still felt like I was just beginning to know him. He wasn't one of those men who told you their whole life story on the first date. No, he had a subtle way of dropping little pieces of his story, like a puzzle. I was slowly putting together, and just when I thought I had completed a part something new would appear, it kept me fascinated. We saw each other regularly, and there was always something new that surprised me. Sometimes it was an anecdote from his past that revealed a side of him I hadn't imagined. Other times, it was a skill I didn't even know he had, and he did it effortlessly without trying to impress me. Just letting the mystery unfold little by little that kept me hooked. There was one night in particular, after dinner, when I thought I had finally figured him out, but as we talked, I noticed there was still a part of him that remained hidden, a subtle shadow behind his eyes. It wasn't that he was keeping anything important from me, but he didn't feel the need to reveal everything, and that attracted me like a magnet when he left me at my door that night. I couldn't help but think about all the things I still didn't know about him, and that feeling, that uncertainty kept me awake, longing to know more. Mystery, when handled with subtlety, creates a constant desire to discover. It's that air of, you haven't seen it all yet, that makes you want to stay, that makes you want to dig deeper. In my case, I couldn't stop thinking about him, and that curiosity kept me emotionally connected, almost obsessed with learning every little detail that wasn't on the surface. And mystery isn't just a strategy, it's a way of keeping the spark alive, of avoiding things becoming predictable and routine. You don't need to hide who you are, but you can let her discover those deeper parts of you over time. Those parts not everyone gets to see, that creates a much more intense connection. Because when you finally allow her into your world, you do it in a way that feels special, unique. It's a gift that's not given lightly. So if you've ever wondered how to keep a woman interested beyond the initial encounters, mystery is one of the keys. It's not about playing hard to get, but about pacing what you share, letting her feel. There are layers she hasn't yet touched, and trust me, that feeling of always having more to discover can keep the desire alive for a very, very long time. 5. Fun and lightness, the formula for natural connection. Number 5. Fun is an essential ingredient for attracting and connecting with a mature woman. And I'm not just talking about making her laugh, though that certainly helps women, especially those who have lived long enough to know what they want, are looking for more than sweet words or grand gestures. They crave emotions, experiences that make them feel alive, that pull them out of the routine and bring that spark of joy that can be hard to find in daily life. Emotions are at the heart of how women connect, not just with you, but with life in general. If a man knows how to create fun and light moments, he helps her let her guard down, relax, and feel attracted in a more natural way. Fun, in a sense, is an invitation to enjoy the present without the weight of immediate expectations, and that's something a mature woman deeply appreciates. Think about this in a woman's life, especially one who has lived through relationships, commitments, and daily responsibilities. What she often desires most is an experience that lets her disconnect for a moment. She's not necessarily looking for someone to solve her problems, but for someone with whom she can share genuine laughter, a carefree moment, a burst of spontaneity. This creates an instant emotional connection, because beyond physical attraction, it's the feeling of joy that builds that true intimate bond. Laughter and the ability to turn an ordinary situation into something special is what makes a man unforgettable. It's not about telling jokes nonstop or being the life of the party, but about creating an atmosphere where both can feel light, where the pressure of expectations fades, making way for authentic fun. There's a simple explanation for this from emotional psychology. When women experience positive emotions like joy or surprise, the brain releases dopamine. The pleasure chemical, that release of dopamine, creates a positive association with the person who brings about those moments. In other words, if you're able to make her feel good, to create those small moments of laughter or adventure, she'll start associating those emotions with you. This forms a much deeper connection than any superficial compliment ever could. And it's not about grand gestures. Sometimes it's a simple joke at the right moment, a conversation that breaks the routine, or an unexpected adventure like wandering the city at dawn just to watch the sunrise. These little things may seem trivial, but they actually build powerful emotional experiences. A mature woman isn't looking for empty entertainment, but for experiences that add meaning to her life, a man who can surprise her, who can make her smile after a hard day, who reminds her that life doesn't always have to be so serious. Fun, in this sense, is a way of sharing life in a more light-hearted and authentic way. In short, fun not only creates attraction, but it's a way of building memories together, making her feel emotionally connected to you, not just because you're interesting, but because life feels fuller, more spontaneous, and more alive. When she's with you at the end of the day, what truly attracts and keeps us connected to someone isn't grand gestures or empty words. It's the combination of small details, patience, mystery, challenge, that ability to make us feel alive and have fun along the way. Real seduction isn't a game of quick strategies, but a subtle dance that invites us to know ourselves and the person in front of us, layer by layer, without rushing, but without stopping. Everything we've talked about today has a purpose. Beyond attraction, it's about building authentic connections where both people feel valued and understood. Sometimes, all it takes is a well-chosen word, a patient gesture, or a smile at just the right moment to ignite that spark that can change everything. My name is Celia, and I want this to be a space where you can find the wisdom that helps you improve your relationships, your intimate life, and above all, your emotional well-being, because every small adjustment we make in how we see and act reflects in those around us and in how we live love. If this is your first time here, I invite you to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single topic. And if you've made it this far, it's because you value your personal growth, and that already says a lot about you. I'd love to know who stayed with me until the end, so comment the phrase, "I love wisdom," and tell me where you're watching from. I'd love to read your comments and know who's sharing this journey with me. And before you go share this video with someone you think needs to hear these words today, sometimes a small reflection can change the way someone views their relationships in their life. See you in the next video.